Good morning and welcome to another beginning keyboard class. Before we begin, I would just like to say that there are several elements that are important. One is learning how to read, and that's why I recommend every day spend, if you can, 15 minutes a day just reading the notes. And you'll be surprised if you do that every day how quickly your ability to play is improved. And then the other thing is counting. So learning to count. And we're still in the beginning stages, and so it's not anyway. The other thing is playing, of course. Hopefully you have something to play on, but Kate made a site available where you can get an inexpensive keyboard if you don't have one. And the other thing is repetition. Like we're going to begin today on page 48, but we started in the beginning. And so don't be afraid to go back and replay things that we learned how to play, because the way that you're going to get comfortable is to play. And so what do you play? Play things that you've already learned. It makes it easier for you to learn new things. So anyway, we're going to continue today. We're on page 48. And if you look at, we're dealing strictly with bass clef today. And if you look at both the C chord and the F chord, they have the fingering right there. On the C, it's 5, 3, 1, and for the F chord, it's 5, 2, 1, right? F, A, C. So when you get down to the actual piece, I'm going to lay my burden down, and you're going to be numbering those chords. If you don't realize, well, let's see well, you just go back to your reference and you've got your fingering right there. Okay, so you have a little exercise there to label which chord is in the bass clef there. So you've got your C, your F, and your G7. And so it's just a little exercise, because that's basically the three chords that you're going to be dealing with in this piece. So to begin with, now this particular piece starts not with an even, it's a 4/4 time, but the first measure only has 3 beats. So, and the last measure has 1, and so it's a little irregular. But in terms of counting then, starting with the first measure, 2, 3, 4, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we have 4 beats to the next measure, and then you hold it 1 more, so you have 5 beats altogether to hold that G7 chord. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Oh, I'm sorry. That's incorrect. I'm holding it that whole time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's do that again. I'm holding that for 5 counts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so the other thing is, going back to the first measure, you've got C, E, F. So C, E, F, which is 5, 3, 2. They have it labeled there for you. And the first chord, which is C, which is C, E, G, right? C, E, G. So C, C, so it's 5, 3, 1, 5, 3, 1, or 1, 3, 5, however you do it. Then you have an F chord. So that's 5, 2, 1, 5, 2, 1, and then back to the C chord, 5, 3, 1, and then it's C, E, F again. So that's 5, 3, 2, and then your C chord, and then your F chord, and then back to your C chord, and then 3, 2, 3, which is E, F, E, your G7, which is 5, 2, 1, you're holding for 5 counts, and then your F, E, D, C, C chord, F chord, and C chord. So putting it together goes like this. One, 2, 3, 4, 1. Now, at the beginning of this piece, oftentimes they give you a suggestion on how it should be played. In this case, rhythmically. So if you can keep a rhythm going when you're playing it. So you can start off slow as you're learning it, and then pick it up as you go. So. Okay. All right, now going to page 49, we're still dealing with the F major chord, but now for the right hand. And so your thumb, number 1, and 3, 5. I'm sorry, okay, it's 1, 3, 5. So it's C, F, A, right? Your F chord is F, A, C, but if you remember from last week, it's easier just to move your 3rd and 5th finger up 1. So from C, E, G, you go C, F, A, right? So, C, F chord. So, going down to the middle of the page, then you write in whether this is a C, an F, that could be a G7, right? And so then we're going to put together, so we're in a 3/4 time signature. So 1, 2. So in the bass clef, you've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then in your treble clef, you've got 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. So then in the waltzing chords, then you're starting off with the bass clef in C. So we're just playing chords. The first measure is C chord, so. And then back to F. whoops, going, so. So then played together, it should sound something like this. So, let's move on to page 50. Now we're going into the G position. And so what we're going to do is we're going to move to where in your left hand, now your pinky finger, which was number 5 fingering, was on C for the C chord, but now in the G position, you move up to G with your little finger, and it's the G just below middle C. And then for the right hand, the G is going to be on your thumb, your number 1 finger. It's the G above middle C. Okay? So, looking at page 50 right there in the beginning, right? So it's G, A, B, C, D. That's with your left hand. And then G, A, B, C, D with your right hand. And then going up and down, then it's G, A, B, C, D, C, B, A, G. With your left hand and with your right hand, G, A, B, C, D, C, B, A, G. Now we're going to be dealing with the intervals, and you have 2 different kinds. You have the melodic interval and the harmonic interval. And it's really, when you stop and think about it, when you're talking about 2 people singing in harmony, now they're not singing the same note, but they're singing 2 different notes at the same time. So if you look at the bottom, where number 2, where it says harmonic interval, you're playing different notes at the same time. So you're playing them in harmony. And so if that helps you to remember the difference between a harmonic interval and a melodic interval, so melody, when you play a melody, you're playing different notes, right? So that's the difference between a harmonic interval. So it goes so that's a harmonic, melodic interval, and the harmonic interval okay, so as you see, the fingering also tells you what the interval is. So if it's looking at the intervals in G position, the melodic intervals there, you've got G with your first finger and A with your second. So that is a second. That's what the interval is. It's a second. And in the next one, G to B, that's 1, 3, that's a third. And then G to C, that's a fourth, so the fingering is 1, 4. And the next one, G to D, that's a fifth, and that's 1, 5. So it's easier to recognize because you've got a second at 1-2, a third at 1-3, a fourth at 1-4, and a fifth with the fingering of 1-5. So in the bass clef, then it's right D C, D B, D A, D G. So in the treble clef, so it was G A, G B, G C, and G D, right? And in the bass clef, it's D C, D B, D A, D G. So okay, so play that a few times, and the fingering is really important, but the interesting thing is with the intervals, the interval between a second, a third, a fourth, and a fifth, it's easy to recognize because the fingering goes along with the interval itself. So that's wonderful. Okay, so in 4/4 time, each quarter note was being played at one beat. And so now in the next one, we're dealing with the harmonic intervals, which we're playing them together at the same time. You've got your second, which is 1-2, your third, which is 1-3, your fourth, which is 1-4, and your fifth, which is 1-5. So that's G-A, G-B, G-C, and G-D. And then with your bass, second, third, fourth, fifth. So we've got, excuse me, D-C, D-B, D-A, and D-G. So holding it for a 2 count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So now, going to page 51, Love Somebody. Excuse me. So now we're going to be dealing with playing the intervals with your left hand. So here they suggest that you play your hands separately. So you can start with, in the first measure, starting with the treble clef, you can go G, B, D, D, A, B, C, G, B, D, D, C, B, A, G, B, D, D, A, B, C, B, B, A, G, G, G. Okay, so the fingering on that, going back to the beginning with the treble clef, it's 1, 3, 5, 5, and they give you the fingering on the next one, which is 2, 3, 4, and then it's 1, 3, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 5, 5, 2, 3, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1. Okay? Now, going to the bass clef, in the second measure, you've got a second, so that's 1, 2. So that's D, C, right? So D, C, D, B for a third, and D, A for a fourth. Third measure is a whole rest, and then again, the next measure, it's 1/4, 1/3, 1/2, right? So a fourth, a third, and a second. And the bass clef in the next measure is a full rest, and then 1/2 for a second, 1/3 for a third, 1/4 for a fourth, and so that is DC, DB, DA, and then in the last measure, you've got, so it's DB, DB, and DB, so 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. And so then, playing that together, so it's a repeat. It says play it happily, and so I think with a little bit of action on the keys, it can sound a little happier. Okay, so let's go down to A Friend Like You. And again, we're dealing with intervals. So in the first measure, you've got D, B, A, G in the second measure. So the fingering, they have it there for you. 5, 3, 2, 1. D, B, A, G. Okay? And that's held for 5 beats. Then in the third measure, D, C, B, A, that's 5, 4, 3, 2, and then down below there. So again, that A is held into the next measure, and then it's D, C, B, A, or 5, 4, 3, 2, and that's held for 5 beats, and then D, B, A, G, or 5, 3, 2, 1 for the fingering, and held again. Okay, and so just like where we started, we begin with only 3 beats in the first measure and 1 beat in the last measure. Okay, so now going to the bass clef, you've got D, G, D, A, D, B, D, A, D, G. Okay, so it's 1/5, 1/4, 1/3, 1/4, 1/5. Then in the following measure, because you have the 3/4 rest, then you have 1/4, which is DA, DB, DC, and DB. And then in the next measure, DA, you have 3/4 rest, DA, DB, DC, DB, DA. So that's going back 1/4, 1/3, 1/2, 1/3, 1/4, as far as the fingering goes. And then, excuse me, in the last two measures, you've got DG, DA, DB, DA, and DG. So it's 1-5, 1-4, 1-3, 1-4, and 1-5. So moderately slow. So let's go. Now, there's always an interpretation in terms of language. So moderate, what does moderate mean? Well, it means different things to different people, but so it's not at one extreme or the other, it's kind of in between. So it's slow, but not real slow. It's moderate. So, but in the beginning, you're going to be playing it pretty slow anyway, right? So. Repeating. Okay, so a friend like you. So let's go over to page 52, and there'll be some exercises there at the bottom. We're still dealing with the G position. So I'm just going to play the band leader here for you just to give you an idea what we're dealing with. So with the counting. So you have some exercises. They give you the note down below there, and you are to write in the note. If it's 4/4 time and you have 3 notes there, well, one of them is going to be a half note, and some are going to be quarter notes. So, and then also you want to write in the boxes the various names of the notes, both the treble clef and the bass clef, and then you have some exercises there on page 53. So we're going to stop here. Now, next time we're going to begin with Money Can't Buy Everything. And if you look at the bottom of the page, it says, from this point, you are now ready to begin Greatest Hits Level 1, which is also in conjunction with the Alfred's piano course. And so it starts off from the very beginning with the easiest numbers. In fact, the very first song in that book is Love Me Tender, the old Elvis Presley tune. So, between now and the next time we get together, if you get one of those, you'll be pleasantly pleased to have something recognizable to be playing. But at the same time, we'll be working with this, and as we go along, you'll see that the way that they've put this program together gives you increasingly more knowledge and without overburdening you too much to begin with. For example, on this one that we're going to begin next time, Money Can't Buy Everything, we're dealing with sharp. and sharps, and then later flats. And so one of the things I like about this program is he doesn't stuff everything all together all at the same time. It's gradually, and so it's easy to digest that way. So with that, I'll leave you and say thank you. And I understand that, originally we were going to have a class here at the Senior Center for like a half a dozen people. And I understand that like 30 people have been tuning in. And so I just want to say welcome to all of you and thank you for tuning in. All right. Thank you very much.